Have you ever been in this scenario where a man leaning against a rusty van calls you over in a hoarse voice and you happily oblige because you have a good feeling about this interaction, and he opens the door to show you a bunch of definitely not stolen speakers, and he asks if you're interested in his legitimate goods, and you're like, hell yeah, brother, but then existential dread washes over you as you see both powered and passive speakers on the shag carpet of the cargo floor, and you realize you don't actually know what you want, and then the man senses your hesitation and shuts the door and peels out while you're left standing there ashamed that you weren't ready for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? It's happened to everyone. Don't feel bad. But it doesn't have to go down like this. If you're confused about what speaker is right for you, I promise that after watching this video, you'll be armed with the knowledge to make a snap decision should your friendly neighborhood speaker salesperson approach you in the parking lot of the bowling alley that used to be a Pizza Hut. Let's talk passive versus powered. If you're not familiar with the terminology I'm using, powered speakers and passive speakers, watch our passive speaker setup video to learn what a passive speaker is and what a powered speaker is. You can find that video here or in the description. I'll be assuming you already know the difference between the two in this video. Let's start with the benefits of powered speakers. With the advent of streaming, music has become more accessible than ever. Back in the day, to be a music aficionado, you had to collect vinyl, cassettes, or CDs, and if you had a music collection, you probably had some money set aside for a proper sound system. That's simply not the case anymore. The same people who listen to music for free on YouTube are also looking for speakers to hear their favorite tunes. If the ultimate goal is to listen to music and not to research audio gear, powered speakers are the simplest choice. Powered speakers are easy to troubleshoot as well. If you hear buzzing from a passive setup that contains a turntable, preamp, and amp, it can get a bit complex to determine where the issue lies. With a powered speaker, it's only one call or one email to the manufacturer rather than trying to chase down which part of the multi-component system is giving you problems. Another benefit of powered speakers is their simplicity to set up. You just need to plug them in and maybe connect the speakers together to get going. This reduction in cabling and gear makes it easier to integrate into a home, which should make everyone in the household happy. Can I have a show of hands for everyone who likes tangled, messy cables? No one? Okay. Simply put, powered speakers take up less room. In one package, you'll find a power supply, DAC, preamps, and wiring to connect everything together. Even the most basic passive configuration, consisting of a pair of passive speakers and a receiver, can't beat out a set of powered speakers when it comes to the amount of physical space it takes up. If you live in a studio or a one-bedroom apartment, just making space for a receiver is difficult, let alone multiple pieces of gear. The days of having a dedicated home theater or listening area are becoming increasingly rare. In a condo, having an equipment rack is a trade-off between having a comfy chair or extra storage space. And let's not forget about the desktop. Desk real estate is scarce, and the more components you can remove, the better. Powered speakers are great for workspaces. So nowadays, you can actually buy a set of passive speakers and a little desktop amp for less money than a set of powered speakers. But are you getting the same value? Powered speakers often straddle the line between an enthusiast product and a lifestyle product. They need to appeal to a larger audience than a passive setup would. Because of that, there is more focus on usability and user experience than a more simplistic passive setup. This leads to powered speakers gaining cool features like channel swap, so that the knob is easily accessible whether you're right or left-handed, or LED dimming when you're using the speakers at night and don't want to be distracted. And because powered speakers are designed to reduce the amount of gear you have, they oftentimes pack a lot of connectivity that might not be included on budget amplifiers. Things like Wi-Fi streaming with multi-room audio or built-in phono preamps to connect to a turntable. Even the most basic powered speaker is likely to have a feature that an entry-level passive system will lack, such as bass and treble controls or a remote. Powered speakers are usually more cohesive and value-laden than a passive setup. Manufacturers of powered speakers have full control over the components in their products. They can pair the drivers with an amp that has just the right amount of power to get as loud as possible without distorting or overheating. They can tailor the sound quality of the speaker by removing a peaky problematic frequency to utilize a driver that may not have sounded good in a passive setup. Going even further, they can even perform a little audio magic by making tiny speakers sound huge. A speaker's bass response gradually tapers off in volume, so if you reduce the rest of the audio spectrum's volume, you've effectively moved that bass roll-off point lower. A bit less volume for a bit more bass extension, which is a trade-off that many people are happy to take. And it's not just bass response, you can implement cool things like loudness curves, so the bass is louder at lower volumes to make the speaker sound fuller when casually listening, and then reduce the bass when the speakers get louder for more accurate tonality. This ability to engineer the sound out of the components chosen is one of the coolest and possibly most underrated features of powered speakers. So you might think that after a deep dive into the benefits of powered speakers that I'm team active, but au contraire, I'm playing both sides so that I always come up on top. There are just some things that passive speaker systems achieve that powered speakers don't. Let me explain. Systems based around passive speakers are all about control. You can't just buy a set of passive speakers and call it a day. At the minimum, you need an amplifier, speaker wire, an audio source, and after that, the list is endless. You can add power conditioners, equalizers, DSPs, preamps, crossovers, VU meters, DACs, CD players, turntables, network streamers, power cables that cost more than your car, etc., etc. You can start with a nice, simple setup and then make it as complex as you want. And what's nice is that you're not stuck with the setup you purchase. You can swap out a component at any time. It's completely up to you on how to build out your system at the time of purchase or into the future. You ever follow a band so long that at some point there are no original members left? Talk about longevity. Passive setups are similar as they can stand the test of time due to their modular nature. For instance, if the tech in your Bluetooth receiver you bought 8 years ago is outdated and you want the newest, latest streaming codec, you can get a newer Bluetooth receiver. The rest of the system stays the same, but now you've future-proofed and modernized your setup. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, say you want to add some vintage gear because you like how it sounds or how it looks, you can purchase refurbished gear that's had some of the electronics replaced so that it can live on. Doing that on modern equipment is a lot more difficult due to the tiny surface-mounted components. But guess what? Even if your modern piece of gear fails and you can't fix it, you can just buy something else and pop it into your system without having to start over. And you can keep doing that forever until the system looks nothing like how it started. You don't have to wait for a piece of gear to fail to replace it. You can get new gear whenever you want, or whenever your wallet allows it. But guess what? If you're low on funds, there's a big community of audio enthusiasts who would love to swap their gear with you or buy your old components so that you can fund your next upgrade. You can connect with these like-minded people on audio-specific marketplaces or on audio forums. Once you dip your toes into the world of passive speakers, you start to realize that a big part of the appeal is the community. You can meet new friends and share stories about the sweet deal you found at a yard sale. And if you're a lone wolf, with every piece of gear you add to your system comes research, planning, and fantasizing even. There's the thrill of the purchase, the unboxing and the installation, and of course the auditioning, listening to the differences that all your hard work has culminated into. There's something very rewarding about putting on a song that you love and hearing a new detail that revealed itself through a higher fidelity component. It's a lot of fun if you're into that sort of thing. Most powered speakers are limited to 2 channels, stereo, right and left. If you want a true surround setup, you need passive speakers. Let's be real, you're not gonna build a custom home theater room, sweat over the placement of the furniture and sound absorbers, tune your lighting so there's no reflections on the screen, and then drop a set of powered speakers to the right and left of your TV. You're sadly never gonna get that immersive THX sound from 2 speakers, no matter how hard a manufacturer may claim that their cutting-edge 3D sound processing is better than the real thing. At the minimum, you'll need 5 passive speakers and probably a subwoofer. And if you want to get really crazy, how about 3 speakers up front, 2 in the back, 2 on the sides, 4 above you, and a subwoofer at each corner of the room. Sky's the limit, baby! So what should our intrepid protagonists have done when asked which type of speaker they wanted from the reputable traveling audio salesperson? Well, if they lived in a small space, wanted a clean and minimalistic setup, and appreciated a simple, well-thought-out user experience, then a powered speaker would have been the smart choice. If they planned on expanding or upgrading their system down the road, enjoyed the process of researching audio gear with like-minded individuals, and maybe had aspirations of creating a dedicated home theater space, then passive speakers would have been the right decision. Regardless of what you choose, we have the perfect speaker for you. Check out cantoaudio.com to view our selection of speakers, subs, speaker stands, and other audio accessories. And if you like what you just watched, check out some of the other audio videos on our YouTube channel and consider subscribing. I'm Jason from Canto, and I'll see you in the next video.